So far what we did is we installed the SQL Server instance on the Linux server. We can connect to SQL Server instance using the IP address by providing the SQL login credentials. We cannot connect using the Windows authentication to this instance because the Linux server didn't join to a DNS server, Windows AD, Active Directory. So we need to join this the Linux server to the DNS Active Directory, and then we can use the Windows logins to connect to the SQL Server. So there is a procedure on the Microsoft website how to use Active Directory authentication with SQL Server on Linux. So we're going to follow this procedure to set up the SQL Server so that we can log into the SQL Server instance using our Windows account. So when you log into your office laptop or computer, so you log in with your company's domain account. That's a Windows domain account. So you can use that account to log into the SQL instance on the Linux server. So you need to do some configuration on both sides in the DNS as well as the SQL server. So these are the steps in general. You need to join the SQL server to the AD domain, and then you need to create the Active Directory user for SQL Server and set the SPNs. So when you join a Windows server to Active Directory, it does a lot of things. It does almost everything. Okay, so you don't need to do this set SPN and then creating the several things. So you got to type in a lot of commands to join the SQL server, the Linux server to the Active Directory. So the next step is you need to create the SQL Server service key tab and AD logins, etc., etc. So we're going to follow this procedure to see if we can connect with our Windows login. So I have noted down these steps. It's a very lengthy procedure, but I have noted down the important key points in my cheat sheet. So let's follow this. So first we need to create the service account in the Active Directory. So this is my Active Directory. This is the Windows Active Domain Controller, and these are other two servers. So in the Windows Domain Controller, I have created the user account MS SQL, and the password is admin123. So I'm going to use that account to log into the SQL instance. All right. So let's see what are the host names that the Linux is using. I didn't put any host name, any domain name. So it's just the host name is SQL CentOS1. Okay, so there are no host names here. So these host names are picking up from the networks, I guess. So the next thing is you need to set the SPN for this account. So let's run these commands in the DNS. So the domain name you see here, it is metamanager.local. So here what I'm doing is I'm setting up the SPN for this account, MS SQL login, this login for this server. So I have created the set SPNs for these services, and then you can list those SPNs, whatever you have set. You can list them. So we have added the 4 SPNs, and you can see that here. All right, so now we need to install the Kerberos client packages on the Linux host server. So you need to join the Linux to the Active Directory, right? So you need to install the Kerberos client packages. So let's install that. Okay, that is done. And it didn't ask the realm name. Okay, if it does, then enter the domain name. Okay, so next thing is our network. So where is this? I think let's go here. So there are two networks here. This is let's turn this off, and this one we have used the DNS. Since so far we don't have DNS, for we haven't set the DNS. We are using my laptop as a DNS, but now we are going to use the Windows domain controller. There is a DNS on this server. Okay, again, this is the virtual operating system. You can see here Windows DC. I just switched it on. I just powered on this laptop. Sorry, this virtual operating system. Now we got this domain controller is running. These three are Windows servers. I have the domain controller running on this one, and this is the Linux server that we are working on right now. So we are going to join this Linux server to this domain controller. So when I RDP to domain controller, I can see that okay, the MS SQL account, and I need to make some changes here. All right, let's see the next step. So now we need to set the network adapter for the SQL CentOS 1 server, the Linux server. So here, so the DNS, it needs to resolve the DNS entries, right? So for that, the DNS IP address should point to this server. So what is the IP address of this server? 150. So let's use that 150 here. Is it 56 150? Yeah, 56 150. I used 150 IP address for the domain controller. So let's use 150 here and then click apply. Gateway, yeah, let's keep it 1. So we got the 150 here. Okay, so we didn't join yet. If I say ping win source, which is this server, it cannot resolve because it didn't join yet. So that is our next step. So we have installed the Kerberos the client packages. Now we need to join the Linux server. So I think let's run this command here. Since I cannot copy and paste, let's copy and paste. See if it works. No, it didn't work. Let's type in. So it says it cannot resolve SSD. Okay, it is installing necessary packages SSD and Samba command tools. Okay, so let's wait for some time to see what it says. Yeah, it looks like it is hanging forever. So let's cancel this and install the required packages. Okay, so let's run this command again. Oh, already joined the domain. Let's check the DNS server. Okay, so it is joined. Okay, now let's proceed on to the next step. If we get into any problem, we'll rejoin again. Maybe we'll remove it and rejoin again. Okay, now let's yeah, it is able to get the data from the domain. Okay, init MSSQL local. Okay, so it did the job but didn't give the message actually. And then you need to set couple of things in Linux. Let's execute these commands in the Linux server. Okay, so you get the value 4 here. Okay, I need to use that value 4 in my next step. So the next step is ktutil. I need to run this ktutil to create the key tab file. So let's copy this. Paste. I can paste. So let's type in. Alright, we created the key tab file. So you need to make the MSSQL as owner for key tab file and set appropriate permissions. Okay, so we have configured the SQL Server to use the key tab file. Okay, I think we are pretty much done. Let's do one more thing here in this. Create a new um, host here. SQL CentOS 1. IP address is 168.105. So since we have created the DNS entry in the DNS server Active Directory, we don't need to use the IP address anymore. We can say SQL cent OS 1, and then the SQL authentication, it connects. Okay, let's see if I have set any no, I didn't set any the entry in the host file. So it is resolving. It is connecting to the. It is talking to the DNS server and getting the IP address of this server. Okay, so basically it is resolving. That is why I'm able to connect. Now let's do this. Now I can create Windows logins. Okay, so I have created the Windows logins now because the server is joined with the domain DNS server. That's why I'm able to create the Windows logins and I have given the SA permission. So now I can connect. I should be able to connect. Not sure what the problem is. Sorry, it's not WinSource, it's SQL CentOS 1. Sorry. Yeah, now I can connect. Meta Manager / MSSQL. So basically, I have connected as a MSSQL account. Okay, so here this is I open this as Meta Manager administrator account. Okay, so let's connect SQL CentOS with Windows authentication. I can connect. And then I can create some testdb5 database. So what is the owner of this database? Okay, so I can create a table. So that's how you can join the Linux server to a DNS Active Directory, and then you can let Windows users to authenticate to SQL Server. Okay, so here you can connect MS SQL at local. Now it is. Now I can connect. Right? Where am I? Yeah, now I can connect. It is showing. Oh, sorry, I have connected. Now I can connect this way. Okay, so I can use my Windows authentication to SSH to a Linux server, and I can work with Linux server, or I can use Management Studio and log into SQL Server instance using my Windows authentication, my Windows user account. Okay, this is how you join the Linux server to AD and then work with your Windows account. There is, I just want to show you one little nugget here. So here you connect this instead of typing the SQL CMD, passing the server name and stuff like that, you can create alias in your bash profile. For example, bash profile, you can create alias. So you can create alias in your profile. You don't need to type the entire command. You can say SQL login, assign SQL login to this entire command and call just SQL login. It is going to execute this command and show you the command prompt. Okay, so you don't need to type in -q. You can type in, that's it. It's going to execute the query and quit. All right, this is how you set up the AD authentication with SQL Server Linux.